All right, that was the HD Radio Soundspace performance with Young the Giant at Sea Legs in Huntington Beach back in March of 2019 when we could go places and watch live music. Do you have anything that you really remember that stands out from that performance?
I think one of the great things about playing locally, we're from Orange County and we're from Los Angeles. We grew up with KROQ, and I think a lot of our fans grew up with us. So it was really cool to see some fans all the way from like the Jakes, when we were just a KROQ locals only band, coming to the performance and just requesting songs that we like hadn't heard anyone request of us in years. So that was really a treat.
So awesome. I couldn't be there that day, but it looked absolutely gorgeous. And I just remember watching it playing back, and it was just perfect to see that on the beach and everything. Really beautiful. I also wanted to wish you a happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
How was your quarantine birthday?
It was fine. 31 is I guess you can celebrate that it's a prime number, but that's about it. So it was, normal, and I hung out with the band guys and, my wife, and just ate some food and hung out. I'm not a big birthday person, so I wouldn't have done like anything too different anyway. So it was okay.
For sure. I feel like anyone who celebrates a birthday while we're in the quarantine, it just doesn't count, and they should just get a birthday, and then we just start over. So you gain a year.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that.
Something really cool that you guys and the Giant have been doing in the quarantine is you guys have been doing this thing called a song a day. And I think it's absolutely incredible. So maybe you can just talk a little bit about how that came about and what the process is.
Totally. So for those of you who don't know, we're on Instagram as most people. And, when quarantine came in, there was a slew of live performances and streams. And while we thought that was still really fun and good, we wanted to try and do something a little bit different. And to be a band of 5 people and to be a full collaborational group, sometimes it's difficult to write music if you're not physically in the room together. So we had done some challenging projects. We usually try and step outside of the box with writing. So even on the last record, we've done a project called the Song a Day Project. So each person in their home studio would start a tune on Monday, and by the end of the day, they'd pass it to the next person. It would be in kind of this rotation, so that we'd work on the previous person's song on Tuesday and then the previous person's song on Wednesday. So by the end of the week, we'd have 5 songs. It was a really fun experience, and it was great to do with quarantine. So we figured we'd share it on Instagram stories, and it was a lot of fun, and we're still kind of working on them. We have like tons and tons of music from it, so we're just trying to decide which one to use next.
Yeah, it's been really, really cool to watch, and I love how you guys do the stories on Instagram, because each of you really show how you do your part, how you lay it in there. And I think for someone who is just starting to make music, I think it kind of like in a way simplifies the process of making a song and makes it more kind of tangible for people to do it.
Most definitely. I mean, limitation is, kind of the essence of creativity, I think. And if there are a million trillion things that one can do, but if you have one day to do something and things have already happened, and you're mature enough to not just to try and destroy it and try and make it better, then your job is pretty specific. And that makes it like very easy to consider. And I think music is that in general. It's like, keep it simple.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you plan on using any of these songs on a new record?
Well, we have written a few songs before this, and with some of these songs, we do intend to potentially use some of them, but because we get 5 songs every week, we have like 30 songs that we're just kind of sitting on with other things. So it'll just kind of be what makes the shuffle. On the last record on Mirror Master, we actually had 2 tunes that were Song a Day songs that we then actually re-recorded live together. So we'll just see how they all end up.
That's awesome. Have you had any that you felt were really special?
From this batch?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a few actually. And some of them, actually, the ones I'm most excited about are some of them we haven't even shown yet. So I'm excited to see what happens with that.
Yeah, me too. So I just kind of was wondering, this is obviously a tough time. We're kind of going through a second wave of the quarantine and sort of being in lockdown again. So what have been some positives that you've kind of found while be going through this?
Um, I've gotten a chance to look inward and figure out stuff in my life that I don't think I took the time to do. Life has been going so quickly for everyone. And for me, I've essentially spent my adult life on the road. And there are a lot of things that I needed to deal with as a person that I kind of had been pushing away just because there were so many other things to do. That now I think one of the blessings of this, at least for me, has been able to tackle those issues head on and to like figure out how to make it better for me in the future. Um, and it's also been a really creative time, and all the frustration, anger, the desire that I have, I'm like trying to fuel it into the music and into creativity. So, um, and that's what makes me very thankful for being a musician. And I think that anyone can do that. It doesn't have to be just music. Even if it's just you writing in a diary or just like anything that gets out those feelings, and it really feels cathartic. And um, to be honest, it's been some of the most fruitful time in my life in the last 10 years, at least.
Yeah, I think this has given all of us a kind of reality check. We've, had the rug kind of pulled out from underneath us, so to speak. And like you were saying, it's been a time to really have to look at ourselves and think about, all these things have been stripped away that we thought made us who we are. And, what are we left with? So I think, and the other cool thing, well, I don't know if it's cool, but we're having a globally shared experience. And I think that that's pretty interesting, so it's like in the
Yeah,
future we'll be able to travel anywhere and we talk to other people about their experience while
exactly.
in quarantine.
It's a crazy thing. We're part of history. This is like one of the probably the most significant historical moment in our lives, in any human's life that's alive. And yeah, it's pretty cool to be able to share that with every single person.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to hearing the stuff that you've kind of been working on during this time. I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you, so we're celebrating 100 years of radio, and I wanted to know for you the impact that radio has had in your life and in your career.
Yeah. So, as I said earlier, I grew up with KROQ. Uh, and for me, being a kid who, is a first generation American, and the oldest in my family, it was kind of like I was the guinea pig of American culture. And radio introduced me to a whole world outside of, the world that I had been living. Introduced me to a community of people that had a shared interest of music and a culture, and not just where you came from. Those stories were still told in all the music, but there's something so awesomely subversive about it being about the songs, and more than just like who you are as a person. And I really, really enjoyed that. It was just an introduction to so many of my favorite artists, and a way for me to have a conversation with the kids in school about something that I might not have known anything else about.
Yeah.
And I mean, in our career, it's been a hugely, hugely impactful thing. I mean, I remember the first time listening to Cough Syrup on KROQ Locals Only, and just being completely floored with, how many people we were able to reach through radio, and create these really personal experiences on the morning drive or heading back home after a long day, and you're by yourself in the car and can listen to some tunes. It's a really, really personal experience, and we most definitely don't take that lightly. It's it's been absolutely surreal. I mean, when we first started out, we didn't Spotify wasn't a thing, right? Like, we're not that old, but we're old enough that, like, the 10-year anniversary for the first record's coming up at the end of the year. And it's crazy to think that before that, the main vehicle for anyone to listen to your music at that time was radio. And I still believe very strongly in its impact. So
Yeah, I remember, so I started in radio and I lived in San Francisco for a long time. And I have this vivid memory of driving across the Golden Gate Bridge, hearing My Body for the first time. And it was like this epic, incredible moment. I was like with my best friend. And, I've just always, I heard that song and I was like, this band is going to be humongous, you know? So it's been really incredible to watch your journey, you know?
Yeah, well, thank you for being along with it. It's been so crazy, so crazy.
I recently watched on YouTube the documentary that you guys put together from a trip when you took to India. And I was thinking about how much inspiration you probably pick up from traveling around and you know, having that. And so now to kind of not be having those experiences, where do you feel like you're kind of drawing inspiration from right now?
As from memories, from stories, from hopes of the future, and where we are right now. You know, it's a fine tightrope to be able to talk about current events without it feeling dated. But this is it's just such a life-changing event. We've had so many life-changing events in just the last several months. Um, I think that's where I'm getting the inspiration from, and where we're taking this forward. And I realize a part of myself that I am a very optimistic person, which I'm surprising myself about that because I thought I was pretty cynical and jaded about things. But I have this kind of undying optimism about the new normal, and that it's a good thing, a powerful thing, for people to be more aware of how they walk in the world and how they treat other people. And uh, I want to bring that in with joy. And that's, I guess where I'm getting all this, creative feeling from. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. And I would have never guessed that you were cynical. That never comes through in your music. It always gives you a sense of optimism and hope. Something really cool that you guys did last month is you gave away signed gear to your fans who donated to organizations helping the fight for racial justice and against police brutality. And I just wanted to say thank you for doing that. And it's a really cool way to kind of get other people inspired, and even just for them to be able to start investigating themselves into different organizations that maybe they wouldn't have looked into before.
Totally. No, I mean, for us, it's an imperative, and we're five different guys from five different ethnic, racial backgrounds. So it's kind of conversation number one. And so it's something, we are more than happy to be a part of, and we're just excited to be able to use our platform for something like that.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful thing, and I appreciate it. So just as far as, I mean, I know we're in such a weird time, it's kind of hard to plan for the future at the moment. And like we talked about earlier, you're doing the song a day. And so you're putting out new Young the Giant music every day, really, if you think about it. But is there anything that you can tell us about just as far as a new album, or a video or anything like that?
Yeah, at this moment, we're just really enjoying writing with one another, and that usually tends to mean that an album is coming soon. It's still really early days, but we're kind of getting in talks about getting back in the studio with some of our favorite producers in the past who we've worked with. So, and figuring out kind of the logistics around how to do that in a COVID world. So, as soon as we figure all that stuff out, I think we'll have something, and something's coming. For
Yeah.
sure.
Absolutely. Well, it's been so nice getting to chat with you today. You are just one of those bands that, I've been in radio for about 10 years, and for whatever reason, I just always missed you guys. So it's really nice to be able to connect with you today.
You too. And hopefully we can see each other at a KROQ event after this is all over. And
No, I want that more than anything in the world. I miss it so much.
yeah.
All right. Well,
Me too.
Sameer from Young the Giant, thank you so much for hanging out with me, and just sending you and your loved ones all the best.
You too. Have a good one.